That we will not have our meeting because this is the 9/11 tribute all over.
I unfortunately, Mike, we missed last month's meeting.
Wow.
So,
That was because of you too.
well, yeah, sure. Blame me.
Just sat here.
Absolutely.
But I went last year to the 9/11 thing in Elgin.
Did you?
It's good.
Actually, I have just done a meeting.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It being 9:04 on Wednesday, September 11th, I'd like to call to order the Kane County Human Services Committee.
Allen,
Allen present by remote if allowed.
and
Here,
Lewis,
Lewis here.
Silva, Tarver. Mr. Tarver,
I do not see him.
Linder,
probably had to go to work today.
Linder's here. Tarver's there. He's just muted.
and Tepe, I see you online,
hear me
and
now?
Surges. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Surges,
Present.
thank you. You have
Hang on
one.
one sec. There's Mr. Tarver. Hey, Bill. All right, can we
morning.
have, do we have approval for remote attendance of Mr. Tarver for work, Mr. Linder for health, and Miss Allen for health? Dr. Silva, is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the approval of the minutes for July 10th, 2024?
Silva
Yes.
asks for unanimous consent.
Any conversation or opposition to that? We have no public comment, although I think it would be appropriate to signify that today's a pretty special day, being September 11th. Mr. Kenyon, you did bring up that today could have been postponed, and I do want to acknowledge that we, unfortunately for illness, were not able to have last month's meeting. So this meeting was pretty essential. We have some heavy stuff here. But I do want to acknowledge that commemoration.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just a historical note. Right after the events of September 11th, I remember the Secretary of Defense said the purpose of terrorism is to alter behavior. and that the best way we can show that we don't succumb to it is to do whatever our assigned tasks are.
Mr. Shepro, wise words, my friend, and I thank you for that.
I wish he had been on the microphone when he said them.
You could say that again, Mr. Shepro.
In the microphone.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, all right, hold on.
It's well timed and well said.
All right, Ken Shepro, Special ASA. On the morning after the September 11th attacks, I remember Donald Rumsfeld, who was then the Secretary of Defense, said that the purpose of terrorism is to alter behavior, and that the best thing that the United States can do is to not let terrorism alter its behavior. And I think the way that we do that is to show that we proceed with the business of the people.
Ken, seriously, thank you so much for
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd.
I see no public comment online. Dr. Silva.
Good morning. I just wanted to share that I just left the 911 memorial in the city of Aurora. And one of the things that I walked away with is that our people are still dying from this horrible, horrible situation. So I hope that we keep in mind those who are suffering from illness and who have lost family members due to this after the fact. Thank you.
Dr. Silva, thank you so much. Item number 6, monthly financial reports. If anybody has questions on those are on file. Number 7, Department of Human Resource Management, items A, B, C, D, and E. Unless we are dynamically out of tolerance, I'm going to do everything I can. We do have an executive session we need to go into today. So I'm going to push to, unless we're out of tolerance.
I do have a couple of updates regarding that. The
Super.
reports are good. I can provide those updates, but if you wanted to do the executive session, the representative from the sheriff's office is here and prepared to discuss the issue that's pending. If you would like to do that first, or if you'd like to wait, I can.
Louis, do I hear a motion to change the agenda and go into executive session?
That's exactly what you heard.
Mr. Kenyon seconds?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you have to say the reason, which is
Take
printed
a
on the
voice vote
agenda.
to alter the agenda. So there's been a motion made and seconded to alter the agenda to advance the executive session.
And she is scribbling as quickly as she can. Hang on. I'm sorry, I should have given you the heads up on that. I apologize.
Alan,
So just
Alan,
take a voice vote on the motion to alter the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And now the motion should be to a closed session for the
Purpose of.
stated in 12A.
12A, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees will be discussed in executive session. Please call the roll to move to executive session.
Yeah.
Yes,
just put
yes.
people.
Alan,
Ellen, I.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
Tarver, Linder,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
and Mr. Tarver.
Bill, are you on? Can you respond?
You, Tarver's yes.
There we go.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Going to closed session.
In the room with us is Jamie. I can't see you. Oh, hey, Susan. Good to see you.
We still need to go digitally.
Yeah,
So folks
please.
online that are joining us in the closed session, please accept the invites. I'll let you know when we're all together. Is there anybody hearing my voice that feels they should be in the closed session?
Larry, that's a lot of clicks. Thanks for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Yeah, they don't make it very friendly.
Yeah, it's, but you make it look easy, my friend.
All right, you are in open session.
No, we'll just go in order. Yeah.
Alan,
Alan present.
Kenyon,
Present.
Lewis,
Let's hear.
Silva,
Here.
Tarver,
Tarver's here.
Linder,
Linder here.
Surges,
Surge is present.
and I see Tepi and Purog online.
They'll be here.
Thank
Oh,
you so much.
here I
We are
am. I'm
back
here.
in session. Jamie, I would like to spend a little bit of time on item 7B and 7E. 7B, I believe, unless it's elsewhere on the agenda, is the conversation regarding MERP. Is that correct?
Yes, I did have some updates regarding MERP. We've evaluated the MERP plan, which if you don't know, is the medical expense reimbursement plan. This is an option for employees who have insurance through a spouse or another method to enroll in a medical expense reimbursement plan, whereas the county then reimburses them for deductibles, copays, and other out-of-pocket expenses associated with the plan that they use. This is beneficial to the county because it's less cost to the county than if they were on county insurance, and beneficial to the employee because it reduces their out-of-pocket costs. It's a really good plan, and we're happy to offer it and want to continue to offer it. But the vendor that we are currently using uses a method for calculating their fee that is not beneficial to the county. And we sent it to Assured Partners to evaluate. And it could save us as much as $300,000 a year to move off of that vendor to a different vendor. So we want to look at pursuing that. As we did when our broker reviewed it, they had some questions as to the ability to give premium reimbursements, which we currently reimburse a premium differential, that might be in conflict with some IRS rules. So we've sent that to the state's attorney and they're going to evaluate that. So there may be some issues with continuing. When the broker evaluated, all of the other vendors refused to do a premium reimbursement because of its inability to align with the IRS rules as they have them. So that's what brought it up as a question. So we would have to look at that component and potentially changing it. So the state's attorney is reviewing it. I just wanted to make everyone aware that we are looking at that, where we are going to continue the plan. We just might be switching vendors. Other than that, we would want to continue the plan under the same terms.
So just so everybody understands, the vendor that we have now calculates their fees based on the savings to the county. That can be interpreted several different ways. We are much more comfortable with somebody that just has a fixed fee schedule, and the savings is substantial, in my opinion. Not substantial from the perspective of we've been discussing multi-million-dollar budgets, but when you look at the entire budget of the Human Services Committee, $300,000 of savings virtually pays for our existence. So I mean, to me, that's substantial. But the second part of this, there's all the devil's in the details. When we opened this up and began looking, the intent of the MERP product is to reimburse any out-of-pocket expenses, meaning deductible and copay. It is not meant to reimburse the cost of insurance. And in this particular case, it seems the vendor that was chosen whenever they were chosen seems to have fallen in that bucket. We need to make that correction. It doesn't hit IRS guidelines. And we don't want this to be something that's a personal call being made by Cliff or Jamie. So we've gone to the state's attorney's office to say, help us look at this. Jamie, if I'm not mistaken, on the MERP report that's on screen, we have 79 employees that received the MERP benefit. And if I'm not mistaken, that number has just been rock solid, consistent for years. I mean, give or take 5 people, we're between 70 and 80 people for as long as I've been around. So
We're actually up. It used to be between 60 and 70 for a long time, high
Okay.
60s. I'd say we're up a solid good 10 people in the last 2 years. We've really pushed more information out, and things like that. So I think, just in the last couple of years, we've really focused on good communication. And I think that we've just become employees have become more aware, and more have chosen that option.
Yep. We just don't want anybody to be out of pocket when we have this program available. But that was never meant to reimburse them for, as an additional benefit. So yeah, let's let the legal people take a look at this and make sure that this is all being done accurately and for me, audit proof, so we can move on from there. Is that okay? Is the conversation set the table for you enough?
Yes, like I said, I just wanted to make everyone aware that it's being reviewed in the state's attorney's office before we can take any next steps, but there's some good potential savings to the county here, no matter how it turns out.
Thank you so much.
Chairman,
And the savings to the county is not at the expense of the employees.
No, it's
These
a
are two
vendor fee.
separate issue. This is a vendor change that creates it regardless of what the state's attorney's office comes out and states. Ken?
Correct.
yeah, I just, is this a time-sensitive issue? And if so, is the state's
The
attorney?
state's attorney's office that's
Where are
working
they?
on it. Unfortunately, somebody is out with COVID. Otherwise, we would have had a report today. So we'll have it for next month. Not a problem. Is that fair, Jamie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
A question.
Yes, Mr. Linder?
In the current group of 70 or so, have we been paying premiums for some of those people? If so, how many?
I don't have the figure, but that is a part of the plan right now. Where it comes in, and again, it's kind of a gray area. Where it comes into question is if the employee is paying those premiums pre-tax and how do we know the taxation of the money we give them? So it's a gray area.
Yeah.
Again.
Amy and Mike, I'm going to ask that we wait until the state's attorney chimes in and then we'll give you a
Right.
comprehensive answer. on
Yeah,
that.
I just need to know whether there was an issue there. There is an issue there. It needs to be taken care of. That's.
There is a
not mine.
potential issue under review, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Jamie, if we can move to item 7E, and I had mentioned this yesterday at the county board. While I personally am in huge favor of the sheriff's office, their fledgling product in Aurora, there's some issues in terms of square peg, round hole liability, insurance related items that we just need to address. And most of that, I don't think it's a black and white issue. I think it's a risk tolerance issue on behalf of the board, Jamie, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it bears conversation that we should begin here.
It should just be a part of whatever decision-making process you have. So this is just to give you some information on how something that is a completely new line of activity that the county hasn't previously participated in will ultimately impact both insurance rates. My understanding is the sheriff's looking at a residential facility. So we would be looking at a landlord type relationship with those individuals. They are also high-risk individuals. So ultimately, again, like you said, it's a risk tolerance issue. It's just something the board should be aware of, that I had a preliminary conversation with the insurance broker, and we should be able to acquire insurance for that. The first thing was just to make sure that our carriers would insure that type of situation. And they said, yes, they would insure it. It shouldn't be a huge impact. It will impact rates, but that won't be the biggest component. The bigger component is the reason it won't impact rates significantly is because we have a very high self-insured retention, or a deductible is kind of how, most people understand it. So we insure the first $1 million of all liability claims. So from
Yeah.
an insurance perspective, the majority of claims would fall under that, but the county has to be aware of its risk tolerance because the county would be the one accepting most of the risk associated with that relationship.
So folks, if I can, on one side of this coin, I applaud our efforts and the courage that we have, to impact the recidivism rate. And I am 100% behind this. On the other hand, this should have a very short leash because, we have no experience with this. We're developing this as we go along, and we're going to have to keep an eye on it. And conversations I've had with other board members has included, you know, how do you, Cliff, how are you going to allow us to invest all this money in a facility and then keep it on a short leash if there's too many claims that begin coming in? Guys, that's part of the risk tolerance. I mean, I have the courage to take the step forward and let's manage it to the very best of our ability with eyes wide open, knowing the pitfalls here. And, we'll put the appropriate staff in place to help mitigate this to the very best of our ability and then review it in a year, 2 years. Jamie, am I off base on that at all?
Right, it's ultimately your decision, as a board, what you want to do. I just wanted to kind of put it on your radar that as you evaluate that there's a potential insurance impact and a potential, even if we don't have claims and a huge premium increase, it's because we may be absorbing the risk in terms of claims payouts. So if we see those claims payouts going up, that would just be another thing for the board to evaluate. So again, not making a comment other than that's something that the board should consider from a risk analysis point.
And I don't want to be insensitive. Dr. Silva, I believe you are Aurora. Myrna is Aurora. Anita is Aurora. I can't see who else is online. Possibly Miss Gums is Aurora.
Awesome. Possibly.
I mean, I don't, because I don't know the districts. I'm being very, very candid, but by conversation, I just want to make sure that if they're the front line in their districts where this is being most affected or can be impacted, I just want to make sure that you're able to answer a constituent's question. We're wide open, eyes wide open on this. And, this shouldn't preclude us from having the courage to try and make a change. So I hope that's fair.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. The other thing regarding insurance I just wanted to mention is we're starting our applications for the year. It's always kind of a crunch at the end of the year because we can only apply a certain time frame before the renewal date. So we have started doing those. As we are looking at it, we look at one of the big factors in determining some of our rates is, of course, square footage, and things like that for property. And for employees, it's head count and total salaries. So both of those things have been going up over the last couple of years, which is driving a premium increase. The higher salaries and the significantly higher headcount is something that the carrier noted and sent back to us. Are you sure this is correct? And we double checked the numbers and yes, it is correct. Our estimated payroll for 2025. There will be an impact to rates when that comes through. I just kind of wanted to let everybody know that.
Jamie, if I can correct you momentarily, there'll be an impact to premium. I think the rates are really quite solid. They've done a great job shopping them. Unfortunately, the premium we pay will be impacted because the basis has increased.
Yes.
Would that be a more fair
Yes,
statement?
there hasn't been any huge jumps in overall industry costs. It's, a slight increase, which of course we're budgeting for. But there will be an increase in our overall premium will be impacted.
Self-inflicted. So
just making everyone aware so it's not a surprise when it comes through because I know it comes through at the last minute.
thank you so very much. We appreciate that. Anita.
Quick question. This actually came up yesterday about our head count. Has our head count gone up so much because of things like we're actually filling positions that have been vacant for so long? Or, I guess what I'm asking is like, maybe over the last 4 years, what was our head count? What is it now? And are there any like big contributing factors? Like now I know we're filling jobs that we haven't filled for a long time, which is great.
Jamie, if I can jump into that really quick. Anita, part of these conversations on that specific question, always remember during the election cycle, there's a bump because of the temporary election employees that are brought on.
Yes.
We try to minimize that and say, keep that in a separate bucket. Let's talk about the more consistent payroll. And Jamie, I think we get skewed in that.
So
payroll.
do typically exclude election workers when we provide counts in this context because
That's what I was asking.
yes, we do. We have them in a separate class and typically exclude them from conversations like this. And from a rough estimate, our employee count has gone up from the low 1300s to the low 1400s. That's just an estimate. It obviously is a daily fluctuation. And it would be a combination of filling vacant positions and new positions. But if you'd like a full analysis of how many positions are filled vacancies versus newly added positions over the last couple of years, I certainly could prepare that for you.
If it's not, I mean, if it's something you can do in 10 minutes, great. But otherwise, 100 positions, that's all I really, you
Yeah,
know.
it might be a little more than 10, but I certainly can prepare
Well,
that
I
in a
mean,
reasonable time frame.
My brain can understand 100.
I think, Jamie, maybe, I mean, something as rudimentary as saying our employee count on average for last year was X, and for this year is X plus or X minus. I mean, I would love to, you're
Certainly.
at 1,372, employees, where last year we were at 1,180. Yeah, I mean, that would be dynamic. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Item 8A, monthly training report. Are we out of tolerance on that?
No, we've actually really gotten on track since the requirement for the sexual harassment prevention training came down from the state. And first couple of years were a little rough, but as you can see, we really hit that number now, and people are getting on board with getting their training done. We are still grabbing a few stragglers, and if someone comes down and shoves a form under you.
Thank you so much. Item 10A, resolution authorizing the county to contract with Humana Inc. to provide the 2025 healthcare continuation coverage for Medicare eligible retirement and disabled employees and surviving spouses. Jamie, could you introduce that?
Yes, we currently contract with Humana to provide this, generally called retiree coverage, even though it covers a few additional things. We are required by state pension code to provide continuing insurance as an option to our retired employees. This is a Medicare supplement plan. It's exceptionally thorough. And these retirees we have it on are very happy with it. So this is the plan that we offer. The employee, the retired employee or disabled employee does bear the entire cost. So there's not a cost to the county. But it's a plan that we manage. And since we manage it, it's a little less expensive.
And just a reminder on this particular item, this was again, something new that we had put into play just a few years back. It was an incredible savings and benefit. The employees are getting so much more under this plan than they were the old plan, if I'm not mistaken on that. And this is just really,
yes,
we took a leap of faith and this one's worked.
Yeah, I mean, this one's as thorough, if not more thorough than our current employee health plan. And it does offer an opportunity. We do require that employees that reach the age of Medicare, that they take Medicare rather than staying on our plan. And that's something we can do as long as we do offer a plan like this. So this is less cost to the employee than if they were to try to stay on our full plan, because once they retire, the county only picks up 10%. And those are expensive plans.
This is,
So,
I mean, truly, this one was win, 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 and just took research and our broker brought this to us, and fabulous job. So with that said, I need a motion for that resolution.
Silva
Alan moves.
Silva moves,
Second.
Alan seconds. Any conversation on that? Let's call the roll.
Alan,
Alan, I.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Linder,
Yes.
Sturgis.
Surges, yes. Item 10B, county paid life insurance discussion. Jamie, if you can make this one as simple as you could, that'd be great.
certainly. When we decided to merge the union and non-union plans and bring everyone up to the level of what our union plan was, that is actually a bit more comprehensive and a lower deductible and lower emergency room copay, things like that. So we have moved everybody to that. In the previous plan, we did offer a life insurance benefit to try to make up the difference between the non-union plan not being quite as good as the union plan. So we did eliminate that when we brought everybody up to the same level. Because we have union contracts, we cannot continue to give a benefit to non-union employees that we don't give to union employees. And since the plans are identical, we can no longer offer that. There was a question when we talked about that, about what it would cost to give everyone the life insurance benefit. And we did get a quote, and it's just over $100,000 to give everyone that benefit. If the board wanted to do that, we would want to use it in bargaining. So that's something that I recommend. If the board is interested in doing that, then we would begin using that within our bargaining of those contracts.
So
But
if I'm understanding you correctly, we are taking a subset of employees and no longer giving them a life insurance benefit.
they do still have life insurance through IMRF as IMRF participants, as well as an option to purchase a low-cost supplemental insurance from NC PERS. So we do have life insurance. The employees still have life insurance. This was just an extra small benefit. It was up to $50,000, decreasing with age. So it wasn't a full life insurance plan. It was a supplemental plan. So yes, that we are removing, but employees do still have life insurance through IMRF.
Do you require committee action on this, or was this just informational?
This was informational because this is something that we discussed back when we changed the plans to everybody having the union plan, but there was a question at that time about what it would cost. So I just wanted to come back to the committee and let you know that the cost on continuing life insurance would have to include all employees, and that cost would be estimated at an annual $100,000.
Jamie, thank you for not letting this slip off the plate. Item 10C, resolution authorizing a contract with McGrath Human Resource Group for the external compensation analysis and review of position grading. Would you like to introduce that?
Certainly. Again, the board asked for us to pursue what the cost and scope would be if we were to do an external compensation study. We did go through purchasing. We bid this out. We received several responses. We interviewed 2 candidates that offered good responses. And ultimately, our committee chose McGrath as the best bidder at a cost of $87,875 for that review. So that would include a review of our grading system and then an external comparison study. And the board had asked to know what that would cost.
What are you looking for from us today? Authorization to move that forward?
If you would, it's, the board hadn't really stated they were sure they wanted to have an external compensation study. What they said is we can't make that decision if we don't know what it would cost. So they asked that we go out to bid, determine what it would cost, and then come back and ask the board if they wanted us to go through. So we haven't signed a contract yet. We have gotten the bids, and I'm coming here and asking the board if they would like us to go through with that and sign that contract and go through with that external compensation study.
My understanding is that there has been some conversation saying that this should hold off until after the referendum that was being discussed yesterday is presented to the voters. I don't know what the committee's intentions are on that. But the dialogue begins here. So if we have to discuss this, I'd be looking for a motion on this.
I'm opposed.
Well, I'll motion to discuss. I'll motion it.
Do we have a second?
Alan,
Alan seconds. We are in discussion. Mr. Kenyon?
It's too expensive. 87 grand. We're talking about cutting expenses. Here's a good place to cut.
Mr. Kenyon, would you use your mic, please? Thank you.
Me talking to this thing?
Yeah.
Can you hear it now?
Perfect.
It's
Much
just
better.
too expensive.
Anybody else have conversation on this?
So,
Anita?
yeah, I'm going to agree with Mr. Kenyon. I think the internal study was great because we're trying to retain employees. The external study, although I'd like to have it happen, it is $87,000, and we are trying to find money wherever we can. So I would be against this because then also when we do the external study, depending on the results, we'll have to take some action. So I would just, at this moment, just like to, as Mr. Kenyon would say, let sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah. Don't beat a dead horse.
Oh,
Anybody
yeah,
else
that's
on
the
this?
other one. Don't beat a dead horse.
Yeah.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, who is this?
It's Mr. Tarver.
Hey, Mr. Tarver, yes, floor is yours.
I just want a quick question. Was it the board who requested this information or this committee?
I believe it was the full board. We put through a resolution so that it would be discussed among all levels. And so the board actually passed a resolution stating they wanted us to go forward with a RFP for it.
Okay, so I would be in favor of at least bringing it to the board to let them get this information so they could.
Mr. Tarver, thank you. Ms. Silva?
Agreed
Dr.
with,
Silva?
thank you, agreed with my colleague, Mr. Tarver.
Linda here.
Michael?
Yeah, I'm of two minds here, and I think we need to do both things. I agree with Mr. Kenyon and Ms. Lewis that this is a lot of money to spend right now, especially because I don't think we have the money to do anything about it once it's done. And I think that's a conundrum for the board is, so what if it comes back out and says, well, you guys need to put another $3 million in to reach external equity, and we don't have $3 million to do it. So I would think it would be a waste of money to do it now, but I do think that since the board asked for it, we need to bring it forward to the board and let them deal with it.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else?
Alan, Mr. Chairman?
Hi, Deb.
Hi. I think when I first heard this mentioned, I was concerned that the consultant would be asking for a couple $100,000, which would, scare us all away. So I think this is a relatively modest amount. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't this the vendor that the Forest Preserve just used?
Yes.
I don't have that information,
yes.
but Anita is saying yes.
I think it's the same group.
Yeah,
Okay.
Deb, I think between the internal study work that Jamie did, in-house and using the Forest Preserve group, we have streamlined this as much as humanly possible.
Exactly. The
Yeah,
thing is,
it's just, I'm going to keep my personal feelings out of this. I am not in favor at this
okay,
time.
well,
so.
we need your personal feelings because you have so much experience in this field. But I just wanted to toss out there that external studies have been discussed since I first came on the board. And the explanation always was given for why we didn't do it was that we couldn't afford to do it. But we never ever had the numbers. So there's a part of me that says we should know that more information is better than less information. I understand about letting sleeping dogs lie, but I just think that more information is probably better. Maybe let the rest of us weigh in. Thanks.
Perfect. All right, if we can call the roll, please.
Mr. Sturgis?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we vote no on this, can we still send it to the full board so they see this? But I want to vote no because I believe it's no, but I don't
I
have a
think
problem
if-
with the full board seeing it.
I believe that at this point in time, the information is now public. It's $87,000. And I don't believe forwarding this to the board in any way, shape, or form gives that any more credibility or information.
Yeah.
And if the board would like to pick that up in another committee, they're more than well, if finance says, boy, we'd like that.
Let's send it to
You
finance.
see Mr. Burns' head just whip right up there. If finance would like to pick that up, all the power, if they think they can afford it, but they'll take it from there.
Okay, perfect.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Mr. Shepro.
I guess to that point, I was going to ask what form, if the resolution doesn't pass, but there was information, what do you contemplate would be the board? As you say, they've already received the information, or would you?
We can put that memo out to
You
the,
could do a memo from the
Absolutely.
committee to the board, even if the resolution is.
and if they'd like to bring it back next month or, as the budget cycle is going forward, if they'd like to bring it back, there's nothing that says we can't reintroduce this in January.
Right.
And which I am much more comfortable doing personally. So,
There's that spot on the agenda where Madam Chair always asks for committee reports, and usually there are none. It's something we could mention at that point.
I'd be
too.
happy to give it there, Michael, as well.
Perfect.
So please call the roll.
Allen,
Alan, no.
Kenyon,
No,
Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Tarver,
Carver, yes.
Linder,
Linder, no.
Surges.
Surges, no.
Fails 2-5.
Thank you. Item D, resolution approving the Kane County per diem meal rates for calendar year 2025. I am not aware that the auditor is here today.
She's online.
Oh, she is online. I'm so sorry. And Penny, if I could tee this up for you, I think in the simplest format, there is a and Penny will bring me up to speed on this. I believe that there is a one size fits all per diem that exists right now. And Penny is recommending that a Egg McMuffin in the city of Chicago might be a much different price than an Egg McMuffin maybe in central Illinois. And that the IRS has guidelines available for us to adjust per diem based on that. Penny, am I even remotely close?
That's certainly one interpretation that can be used, I suppose. The reality of the situation is that the U.S. General Service Administration has a website set up, and that's where we usually obtain our per diem amounts. Some time ago, the county auditor chose to use DuPage County as a single point of contact for per diem, and every other county in the state essentially uses this GSA website, and it adjusts the per diem based on destination. So instead of, if you go to Topeka, Kansas, you don't receive the DuPage County, Illinois per diem rate. You receive the GSA's per diem rate associated with Topeka, Kansas. Maybe more, maybe less, but it is determined by the federal government as opposed to Kane County.
Is this the way that other counties handle this, or are we unique?
Utilizing the GSA would be the way that the other counties utilize it. Currently, we are unique.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll motion.
Ms. Lewis motions resolution approving the Kane County per diem meal rates for calendar year 2025. Do I have a second?
Carver seconds.
Carver seconds. Any conversation here? Mr. Kenyon.
Is there any way to write into it, adjustment for, let's say you go to lunch in Washington, DC.
Talk in the microphone.
Oh,
There you go.
go to lunch in Washington, DC. It's gonna cost more.
Correct.
So what happens to that employee?
That is exactly what this is saying.
It's gonna
That
fix,
it adjusts according to where you're at. And I would, in Penny's
like-
case and mine, to blend those two, your Egg McMuffin in Topeka, Kansas might be a little bit less expensive than your Egg McMuffin in Washington, DC.
I don't know if the Egg McMuffin is a good example. 'cause
Okay,
those-
use a
but-
better
but
example.
The breakfast.
The large fry, how's that?
Yeah.
Okay,
you know, so-
For breakfast.
please call the roll.
Allen,
Alan, I.
Kenyon, Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Silva,
Yes.
Tarver,
Carver, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Surges.
Surges, yes. Is Michael Isaacson or a representative from Michael's group here?
Yes.
Yes, good morning, Chairman. I'm here.
There you go. Hello, Michael. Michael
Hello,
is
sir.
introducing item E, a resolution authorizing the creation of a position of fatality review manager for the Kane County Health Department. My understanding is this is a brand new position that has some short-term funding that will then become a grant-funded position, but we need to begin here because it's something that doesn't exist today. Am I fundamentally correct there?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. So this is part of the approved initiative that the board granted the almost $10 million to the health department to begin to build our capacity around behavioral health. Director Peterson, who's online, has begun putting a team together, and we're making great strides there. The board just approved about $5 million in grants for us to work with partner organizations over the next couple of years to build out our capacity and also to balance meeting some of the immediate needs of the community. Fatality Review is an initiative. It's a nationally recognized model where health departments and coroner's offices work together with social service organizations and medical professionals to really dig in and identify what are the causes, in particular overdoses, suicides, domestic violence cases, so that we have the actual information about what's going on here in Kane County. This has always been a deficit that we've had, that we can use the general numbers. We know how many people die, for example, but we don't have much more information. So as you said, Chairman Surges, this position we are asking to be created. So we would like the headcount permission, and then we would fund this with ARPA dollars that have already been provided to the health department for the next 2 years. And then the plan is to roll that in with other existing grant funds to continue this on into the future.
Ms. Lewis, you have cautioned me in the past to not put my personal 2 cents in on things. In this particular case, I'm going to say, Michael, in so many ways, there are organizations across the land that look to the county for higher level review. And this is very specific to answering that call. And I applaud you for taking the step on this. Ms. Silva, can I have a motion for this resolution?
I so move. And may I?
Linder, second.
Linder seconds. We're in discussion. Ms. Silva, you may.
Thank you. So I'm very much in favor of this. I think this is something that should have been in the making many years ago. And I'm glad that we're now implementing these programs. One of the things that a fatality review manager could do is they will obviously work closely with our Atlas system, and they will take a look at the information. Sometimes in medicine or in public health, we're still on older systems or older beliefs, and the culture has changed. The world has changed. We're living in a very different era from when we grew up or we were training. So things like basal BMI, those numbers are those types of information. That type of information for quantifying obesity is outdated. They were insurance numbers that were based on men of a certain age. So they're not really.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
So
Peterson, don't you laugh at that.
They're outdated methods. And I would love for someone who is a fatality review manager to take a look at those things and look at what other things are we finding that provide more accurate data. So I'm very much in favor, and I will be voting yes.
Agreed. Anybody else, or can we call the roll? Anita, I'm sorry.
So did I read this is going to cost $210,000?
Michael, I don't have those figures. Can you?
Yes, that's correct. Over the next 2 years that the ARPA funding goes.
Okay, so the person will actually get paid, their salary will be half of that per year, or is there things?
Less than that, because of the county being quite generous with the benefits, in my opinion, county paying 83% of the health insurance cost. So when we graded it, I think this is going to be in the $50,000-$60,000 range for salary.
So then
and I do want to, the 200, then that includes health insurance costs. We always benefit. We're conservative when we budget for health insurance costs, just in case somebody takes the most expensive health insurance, and the other FICA, all that kind of stuff.
So you're saying the base salary is going to be 60, but with benefits, we're coming up to over $100,000, and this is 2 year salary?
Yeah, two and a half. I mean, if we get permission, if we get through the board, we'd like to get this posted and get somebody in as quickly as possible. So hopefully we'd have them working this current fiscal year as well.
But Michael, if I can, you guys are projecting
Excuse
this.
me, I still had the floor.
I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, and then I do have another question.
Yeah,
So-
but this, you're projecting this to be grant funded in future?
That's
or
correct.
no?
Yes. No,
Okay.
yes, that is correct. Grant funded.
Ms. Lewis, I stepped on your toes. I
Okay,
apologize.
no, it's okay. I'm used to it. So, my next question, Michael, just because I've never heard of this position, I'm going to admit to being ignorant. So when we have a fatality, it goes to the coroner and we have our medical examiner come in and they do the autopsies and all those sort of things. and they'll determine that it's a fentanyl overdose, I'm just gonna say.
That's
So
actually-
this, and then they go and they work with the sheriff's department and the health department to determine why are we having so many fentanyl overdoses? And then, you know, then we work on what are we going to do to get to the public and what are we going to do on all those things. And it's a collaboration among health department, coroner, sheriff's department, and a lot of times, state's attorneys too. So this one are based on what Dr. Silva said. So what you guys will do is you will take that data that's already supplied by your information, the coroner, the other departments, and then that person will dig down into that person's actual, like, we're going to invade the privacy of that person and find out their BMI and different other things.
So we would be forming
No,
what's
but
called a
anything
fatality
that's-
review board.
Yes.
So certainly being respectful of the individuals involved is number one. That's the paramount thing. So this would be working with the medical community and social service organizations, as well as partners, like you said, with the sheriff's office and the coroner's office. Really, the coroner's office is the starting point for this. This is a model. There's a statewide network that's being built of fatality review boards. So we have benefited. Our team has been working closely with them over the past several months as we've built up our knowledge and understanding of how to best do this. But I can assure you, this is not meant to invade people's privacy. This is really focused on how can we better understand what's going on in the community so that we can intervene and keep it from happening again in the future.
Okay, I'm going to vote no on this, and not because I don't agree with you, and not because I have anything against the position, but I'm going to vote no until it goes further on so I can do my own research, because like I said, I've never heard of the position. So thank you for your words.
Mr. Shepro,
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
second. Mr. Tarver?
Thank you. I just want to say that I'm also in favor, and I appreciate you bringing this forth, Michael. Just a procedural question. Because the board has already granted you the funding for this, is this more of like a consensus, or when you're hiring new staff, you bring it in front of the committee for approval? Just so I understand what's happening today, because this came up in a position yesterday as well with $200,000. I just want to understand what is happening.
Sure. So for this is actually new head count. So as part of county policy, we work together with human resources, and I do want to thank Director Labrillo for all of her assistance putting this together. We provide a job description to our HR department, work together to grade that position so that it's in line with the other positions across the county. And then the next step is to bring it to Human Services Committee to actually get permission, because this was not something that was in the FY24 budget as headcount. So it's as much about the headcount as it is about the money.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Shepro, did you have something to add that was of?
Well,
During your comments, he
Yeah.
said something was inaccurate. We just wanted.
Oh, well, I was just going to point out that not every death goes to the coroner for, the coroner basically has a certain, like if somebody dies in the hospital, that doesn't go to the coroner's office for any further investigation.
Mike, would you go outside to like funeral homes and hospitals and stuff like that, or?
No, the starting point is really with the coroner's.
Coroner's office.
It
building
can
on-
only
yeah,
be
build-
those cases.
Thank you. Mr.
Exactly.
Kenyon was next.
This is quite a chunk of change. And it won't fly through the board. I'll say that. Because we are, but even though there's a grant, someday we're gonna have to pay it. It seems like a lot of money for that. Just my feeling. So I'm with Anita. I'll vote no.
Kim, I see your hand, but Dr. Silva, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Don't jinx us, Mr. Kenyon. Don't jinx us. Yes, that would be an attended death. So attended deaths don't necessarily have to come through the coroner's office unless there is some a manner of death that is, could be something suspect.
Would the committee benefit from having the coroner office?
We'll send it to five.
Well, let's, Ms. Peterson, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we have observed all the counties around us, their review boards, and been a part of that process to see what it looks like. So all of the counties around us already have this established, and it's really more of uncovering systemic issues that could have been prevented in a preventable death situation, and getting to those root causes so we can implement the proper initiatives based on data. So it's more things like when people have been double prescribed opioids, for example, in one we sat in, there was, hospital prescribed, doctor prescribed, and there was a mix up. So just uncovering systemic issues that are going on that we can actually help prevent and improve our systems when it comes to these preventable deaths. Just to-
Dr.
Can I
Silva, I would love to move this
Yeah.
to the board.
I wasn't finished. So one of the things, the comment that I made earlier that I wanted to clarify, the way I see this, and I think Director Peterson just confirmed it, it's aggregate data. We're not investigating individuals and digging into their personal information. This is aggregate data that would be published without names or specifics to protect the privacy of the family and the deceased.
Agreed. Okay, with that, could we call the roll on this, please?
Allen,
Alan, I.
Kenyon,
No.
Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Tarver,
Carver, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Surges.
Surges, yes.
Passes 5 to 2.
Item F, resolution authorizing a merit pool for the county departments for fiscal year 2025. I want to acknowledge my appreciation of Ms. Bates for helping me move this off of the county board and back to this committee for review. In short, there's two components of this, and Jamie, whack me upside the head if I'm wrong. The components that I would like to review is that the first one is we're giving 2.5% raise for COLA to our non-union employees in a situation where the index is over 3%, and we're massively under that. The non-union people are not keeping pace in any way, shape, or form with their union counterparts. And then the second and even bigger portion of this, in that original resolution, there was absolutely supposed to be a designation discriminating between the COLA amount and the merit amount. And we are trying to correct that today to say, we would like this resolution to include a percentage of merit for those county-wide departments that are used to reward those employees that go above and beyond. Jamie, am I even close?
Yes. So to be clear, the resolution regarding the COLA isn't being heard in this committee because there wasn't enough time after the board. So that'll actually be in finance, but it's relevant to this conversation as it was kind of the reason that it was brought back. Our compensation policy did provide for a merit increase. It was one of the things when it was presented that I thought it was important that we have a method for our department heads to reward high functioning employees. It's a great incentive for employees to be that high functioning employee. And it's something our department heads appreciate being able to reward. The 2.5% COLA is just that. It's a cost of living adjustment. It has nothing to do with performance and does not include any kind of ability to give a pay for performance benefit. It is applied systemically by spreadsheet to every active employee within your county departments. Now, within your elected officials, that's different since we can't do that. You can't make that decision on behalf of the elected officials. They get a lump sum that they can redistribute any way they want. But your county departments do not have that option. The COLA resolution that was put forward, that was in the board yesterday, that will be discussed at finance, specifically gives 2.5% to every active employee. Historically, prior to the compensation policy, our department heads did similar to the elected officials where they gave varying amounts. But I believe the board was under the impression that when they gave a 3% raise, everybody was getting 3% and they were keeping up with cost of living. However, that's not what was happening in practice because it was being used similar to a merit increase in that adjusted amounts were given to different people based on performance. So we really want to make sure we're including an ability for our department heads to give some performance-based increases. And the existing compensation policy does regulate how that happens to make sure it's happening fair and in compliance with the Equal Pay Act. So departments will have to have a completed evaluation form for an employee before they can give them a merit-based raise to make sure that we are properly evaluating all our employees and giving a raise based on performance. So that's fully included in the compensation policy that exists, a process for a merit increase. So I did draft a possible resolution. This is just a suggestion. You certainly can make any edits to it you want. And I ran a few numbers with finance about what a merit increase would cost. So again, this is in addition to the 2.5%. So Christine, you want to pass that out to everyone?
Give us a general figure what you're looking at.
So in this one, I included a 0.5% merit pool that would be based on the active salaries in the county departments only, because your elected officials don't have this restriction that those do. So this is for those departments that participate in the compensation policy, which right now that is just your county departments. None of our elected officials has opted in. So this is specific to the county departments. If you were to do a 0.5%, that would be a total cost of $130,969.
To this board, to this committee, I would, it is not in my nature to come and simply spend money. Earlier in this conversation and committee meeting, we put forward the notion that we have the ability to save upwards of $300,000 in one area controlled by this committee or department. And we're suggesting that we would like to spend a portion of that savings by enacting this and giving that 0.5% merit to come in compliance with our policies.
And understand too, that's a pool that would be used at department head discretion. So that's not everybody gets a 0.5%. That's the way the figure is calculated. So it's calculated based on a 0.5% of total salaries, and then the department head can distribute that pool of money in any way they want to their active employees based on the merit of those employees.
So do you need a resolution to give to Mr. Berman's committee? Is that what we're looking for?
That has been passed out and it was agended, so you're free to pass a resolution here if you want to. You're free to edit it if you want to. Once it's passed, we'll make sure we have it posted and entered and passed on to the finance committee. But right now it's just in a draft form that we handed out simply because this was an introduced conversation and I didn't have any feedback from the board what to put in it. So again, I put a 0.5% in. You're free to adjust that amount. You're free to make any changes that you want to it if you would like to consider it, but it's agended, so you're free to motion and pass it if you want to.
That is correct.
Okay, are we, Mr. Kenyon or whoever's left in the room here, could we get a
Alan
motion for
moves.
this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, Alan moves.
Alan moves,
Linder
Carver
seconds.
seconds.
Carver seconds. Any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman, Alan,
Alan first, then Kenyon?
I would like to suggest that we do at least 1%. If we're talking about saving about 300,000, then for heaven's sakes, let's put it into the merit pool.
1% calculates at $261,939.
Deb, is that a motion to amend?
Maybe I want to go to 1.5%.
Oh my God.
That would be
Spending Debbie.
390,000.
Let's stick
Change.
with one, Deb. Let's start there. Do we have a second to Debbie's amendment?
Carver
I would hope
seconds.
the amendment would say up to 1%.
How, Deb, could you live with that up to 1%?
That's fine.
Don't you have to have a actual number?
I think you need to have an actual number, because if you say up to 1%, how do we determine?
Okay, so 1% would give that, do you have that number by chance?
Yes, 1% is $261,939. So that would be calculated as a pool. So it doesn't mean that a department head can give up to 1% merit increase. It's a dollar figure pool that is calculated and they can distribute those dollars any way they want.
Please call the roll on the amendment.
Wait, Alan,
there a
question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Deb, go ahead. I apologize.
That's okay. Jamie, is
Was
this
there a
like a
second
first?
to the amendment?
There was a second by Kenyon.
Oh, that's right.
Is this a first come, first served situation? So every department head has to scurry and get his merit
No.
increase?
No, not at all. Each department would have a pool that was calculated based on the percentage you assign. So if they have, $1 million in salaries and you assign a 1% pool, my math is terrible. I think that's $10,000 they would have, and they would be able to give $10,000 worth of raises.
Thanks. Appreciate the clarification.
No other questions? Please call the roll on the amendment.
Allen,
Ellen, I.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Silva,
Would have voted for the 1.5, but yes.
Carver,
Carver, yes.
Linder,
Linda, yes, but then I have some questions.
Surges.
Surges, yes. Mr. Linder, we are in discussion on the original motion.
Sure. Just to be sure I understand, this 1% will go to each of the departments, but not to the offices. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. That's what's in the
Okay,
resolution.
because those offices got the 2.5% in bulk and are able to distribute it however they want.
Yes, if the COLA resolution is ultimately passed, yes, they have that in bulk and they can distribute it how they want.
Okay, so, I have an overall concern that our departments have been acting more as though they were offices, and I'm glad that we are doing something separate for them, but I'm frustrated by the entire fact that we were not able to get our departments to budge anywhere on the budget. But that's being said, I will vote yes on this.
Without other Mr. Kenyon?
A merit raise is earned. A COLA, you just stand there. You just stand there and you get cost of living no matter what you do. So I really like merit raises. And I like a flexible one. You say, well, Dr. Silva really deserves 1.5, not a half, because she really works hard.
This is so essential for our employees. I can't believe we don't
It
have
is,
this.
I mean, we have to have some way of keeping people besides giving them an extra holiday.
Please call the roll.
Allen,
Ellen, I.
Kenyon,
Aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Carver,
Carver, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Surges.
Surges, yes. I applaud this committee for finding the savings one way and giving it back to our rank and file in another way, at still a savings to the county. Well done, all of you. Thank you.
Should have
Let's
gone with
see.
1.5.
You can make it.
We have other chances, Deb.
Yeah, you can go right to finance and Dale will accept that motion. We've a motion to replace reports on file.
I do believe you still need to vote in open session on that benefit protection leave.
It's for some reason it's under 12.
Right, because you had to have the executive session first, so that's why we had executive session.
No.
Then under open session, it has that resolution. You still need to vote on that, that you
Well,
discussed
what you're saying
previously.
is that the resolution is item 13.
13, right.
What's on file is 11.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just
Wanna make
following
sure
the
you did.
agenda. If is that okay or no? Am I out of order?
No, that's fine. I'm sorry. I just didn't want
Okay.
you to go into adjournment without.
Just
No, no, no,
ask-
no,
just
I got
ask
it.
For unanimous consent.
Unanimous consent to place reports on file.
Yes.
Opposed?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. We were in executive session. We are now in item 13A, resolution authorizing IMRF benefit protection leave. Could I have a motion for that, please?
Carver moves.
Carver
Linder,
moves,
second.
seconds.
Linder,
Silva, seconds.
Silva seconds. Any conversation there? Please call the roll.
Allen,
Ellen, I.
Kenyon,
Yeah, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Carver,
Carver, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Surges.
Surges, yes. Mr. Kenyon, light it up.
I would like us to adjourn till next month. Adjourn.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Second by Dr. Silva. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You
Aye.
guys, thank you very much.